Hey, second grade. Today we are going to start our day with a read aloud of Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. But before we do that, let's read our goal for today. It says, I will rewrite my small moment story to make it even more powerful. So friends, while I am reading Owl Moon, I want you to be thinking, how did the author make her story so powerful? So that when you are going back to your own stories, you can try to make them even more powerful. So let's get started. Owl Moon by Jane Yolen. Illustrated by John Schoenherr. I'm going to do my best to show you the pictures, okay? It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. That means they were going to look for owls. There was no wind. The trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew, long and low like a sad song. Oh, I even see the train. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out trains and dogs for a real long time. And then, when their voices faded away, it was as quiet as a dream. We walked on toward the woods, Pa and I. See, there she is with her Pa, walking towards the woods. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow, and little gray footprints followed us. Look at the footprints whenever they walk. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped after me. Look at their shadows. Look at the long shadow, and then the short, round one. But I never called out. If you go owling, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long, long time. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was, and I waited. He looked up, as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made his face into a silver mask. Then he called, hoo, 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 hoo. The sound of a great horned owl. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Look at him calling out like an owl. Again he called out, and then again. After each call, he was silent, and for a moment, we both listened. But there was no answer. Pa shrugged. Can you shrug? Go like this. And I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said, sometimes there's an owl, and sometimes there isn't. What do you think? Do you think they're gonna find an owl tonight? I don't know. Look at the little raccoon in the tree. We walked on. I could feel the cold, as if someone's icy hand was palmed down on my back. And my nose and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. Have you ever been in the snow before? Have you seen snow? You know how cold it gets and your nose is cold and your cheeks. That's how she was feeling in the story. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. Look how cold, all bundled up. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I had ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry, for the scarf over it was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hid behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. It's a little scary in there, I must admit. But she's going to be brave. Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. Look how white that snow looks. Wow. Wow, friends, I like how Jane Yolen, the writer, she says things like, the snow was as white as the milk in a cereal bowl. Oh no, even whiter. I like how she uses those pictures to help me imagine it. I sighed. Can you sigh? And Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf, over my mouth, and listened hard. And then Pa called, hoo, 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 hoo. I listened and I looked so hard. My ears hurt and my eyes got cloudy with the cold. Pa raised his face to call out again. But before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the woods. Hoo, 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 hoo. Friends, who do you think was making that sound? It wasn't Pa anymore. I think it's an owl. Let's see. Pa almost smiled. Then he called back, hoo, hoo, just as if he and the owl were talking about supper or about the woods or the moon or the cold. It was like Pa and the owl were talking to each other. I took my mitten off the scarf, off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. Look, they're looking for the owl. The owl's call came closer from high up in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words we had not spoken. The shadow hooted again. Let's see, look hard, friends. Do you see the owl in the picture? There it is. There it is. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. Look, he turned on his flashlight and there it is, landing on the branch. Wow, that's a big owl. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. Are you ready to see this picture? Wow, imagine if that owl was staring at you. Oh my goodness, I don't know how I would feel. Maybe a little bit scared. Then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without a sound. It flew back into the forest. Time to go home, Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud. But I was a shadow as we walked home. So she was really quiet as they walked back home. There it is, lifting off and flying away. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says. The kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. And there they're going home. All right, friends, so now that we had read Owl Moon, this is what you are going to do. You are going to go back to that small moment story that you've been writing. Some of you already finished writing that story and you started writing a new story. So I want you to go back to your story and think, how can I make my story even more powerful? I noticed that in the book, Owl Moon, Jane Yolen used a lot of words that described. Her words painted pictures in my mind, and they helped me to try and think and visualize and picture what was happening in the story. So you remember when she said the snow was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. I want you to go back to your stories and use words that describe and give details so that when I read your stories, I can try and picture those things in my mind. Friends, when you are done with that, you are going to take a picture of your story and upload it onto Seesaw so that I can read your stories. Bye!